A major department store is closing one of its stores in South Florida. The Macy's in Pompano Beach is one of 3 across the state getting ready to shut their doors after 50 years. Stores in Vero Beach and Sanford are also closing. A clearance sale will begin later this month and will last 8 to 12 weeks. In a statement to CBS 4 News, Macy's called the decision a difficult one. Just yesterday, it was announced Bloomingdale's at the Falls in Southwest Miami-Dade is closing after 35 years in business. And Pier 1 announced it's getting ready to file for bankruptcy and will close 450 stores across the country. The company says the closures come as consumer shopping habits change and shift to online commerce. It has not announced which stores will be closing, so we don't know if any South Florida locations will be impacted.
And in the wake of those store closings, Macy's is also closing a major call center in Tempe, resulting in the loss of up to 800 jobs. The company released a statement saying that the location will close in early February. According to the statement, the operations that are currently housed there will be moved to locations in Ohio and Florida.
Macy's is closing more than 24 stores, including the one in Salisbury. The company confirmed details to CNN Business, and we've provided a list of the stores announced so far in our CBS Baltimore article. Macy's says it will have a full list of stores closing by February 5th. Shares of Macy's lost roughly 40% in the past year, and it's just one of the retailers losing business to discount chains and online retailers. Pier 1 Imports said Monday it's closing nearly half of its stores. Katie Johnston for WJZ.com.
And we begin with breaking news tonight. An anchor store at the Center at Salisbury Mall is closing.
WBOC has learned the Macy's department store will close by March, and we're told about 80 store employees were notified today. Corporate officials at Macy's tell WBOC that regular non-seasonal employees will receive severance. Officials say a clearance sale will begin this month and run for 8 to 12 weeks. Macy's really a fixture at the Center at Salisbury for some 29 years. Now, Macy's stores in Dover and Annapolis will remain open, but again, the Macy's store in Salisbury is closing by March.
Macy's will close 29 stores, including 2 in Hicksville and Comac on Long Island. Overall, the retail chain says stores showed some improvement, but sales during the important holiday shopping season dropped 0.6%. Macy's says the Comac location is closing this summer because the lease is up. The other stores will close in the next few weeks.
After 49 years, this Macy's behind will be closing, and that came as a shock to shoppers who've been shopping here for years. Now, in a statement, Macy's said it was a tough decision to close this location. They notified staff of the closure recently. Some of which will be placed in other store locations. A clearance sale will begin this month and run approximately 8 to 12 weeks. Shoppers we talked to didn't expect to hear such news right after the holiday season.
It was kind of shocking. I mean, I've gotten some pretty good deals out of there. Sure. And it was close.
Yeah, right after the holidays and stuff, and it's a new year now, so it's kind of weird.
There's still 3 other Macy's locations in the state, and the closest one to here is in Waterbury, and Macy's has not given an exact date of when these stores will finally close. Right now, live in Meriden, Dave Puglisi, Fox 61.
It looks like the 2019 trend of closing retail stores could be continuing. 2 major chains, Macy's and Pier 1, announced more closures today. And Macy's tells News 5 the store at the Stowe Kent Plaza is on the closure list. A clearance sale will start this month. It will run between 8 and 12 weeks. Macy's says it will try to find employees jobs at other nearby locations. Now, meanwhile, Pier 1 may be getting ready to file for bankruptcy, and it's closing 450 stores. That's about half of Pier 1's locations. The list of stores hasn't been released yet. Pier 1's latest quarter of in-store sales was 11% lower than the previous year.
Our top story tonight at 6. Reaction this evening after one of the biggest department stores prepares to close in Macon.
41 NBC's Jatrissa Wooten spoke to people who are hating to see it go.
I hate that Macy's is closing.
After more than 20 years, Macy's at the Macon Mall on Eisenhower Parkway is closing its doors. Resident Joe White says he remembers when the mall was just an idea.
When this whole thing was not here, I helped put this place here in my late teens. And it's a shame to see the blight that's happened with the old mall. This was a premier place back in the time.
A media's relation manager for Macy's responded to the store's closing with a statement. It reads, "In today's retail space, we continuously review our brick-and-mortar locations, evaluate opportunities to maximize value, and ensure the sustainable long-term growth and success of our store business." It continues, "The decision to close a store is always a difficult business decision." White says he's not buying it.
But now what we started is more blight on the Eisenhower Parkway corridor.
From Dillard's to Belk, all have closed while new shopping centers opened elsewhere.
Presidential Parkway hurt the old mall. The new mall, certainly, that was like the nail in the coffin.
Macy's media rep shared that although the Macon store is closing, it will have a clearance sale for the next couple of months. And regular, non-seasonal employees will be eligible for a severance, including outplacement resources. As for its shoppers,
we're going to have to either go across town or to Warner Robins.
In Macon, Jatrissa Wooten with 41 NBC News.
And Macy's encourages customers to shop at its locations in Stonecrest Mall, South Lake Mall, and online at Macys.com.
Well, yet another major retailer is closing a Northeast Ohio location. Macy's announced after 55 years it will close its Stowe Kent Plaza store. A spokesperson tells 3 News a clearance sale will begin this month, and that sale will last about 8, maybe 12 weeks. Employees have been notified, and those who cannot be moved to another store are eligible for severance. The Stowe location is one of 15 stores that Macy's is closing nationwide.
Can you show me, please, Macy's, the department store stock, Macy's? They're reportedly set to close 28 stores and 1 Bloomingdale's. The stock is actually up 3% on that. Yeah. I guess they're the victims of the retail ice age.
Well, they also came out with the same store sales in the fourth quarter. That includes the all-important holiday period, dropping less than expected, only falling 0.6%, whereas people thought that it would drop off closer to 1.5%. So it was a better holiday sales trend for Macy's, but still suffering through this bricks and mortars. It's a tough era for those traditional retailers.
It's years since I went into a department store. Absolutely, years and years and years. I can't remember the last time I did. A shopping mall is about the same thing. I didn't go there.
But they're picking up their game. They're adding digital offerings that are very strong. That's putting pressure on Amazon. And they're trying to make going out to shop a real experience. And some of them, particularly Nordstrom's, doing a great job at that. I'll have to confess, I got a couple gifts that were bought at Macy's. I loved it because I'm a stockholder at Macy's. So the death of Macy's has been greatly exaggerated.
Ah, okay. What do you got on this, Shagalani?
I agree with David. The death of Macy's has been greatly exaggerated. Management's done a very good job of holding up the company, and I think they're going to continue to do that. Their online presence, they're increasing that as best they can. You go into any Macy's, there are tremendous bargains to be had at Macy's. It's a great store to shop in. It's beautifully merchandised. And I think in terms of their locations, they needed to cut back on some of the locations, and they have been downsizing. So management, again, is doing the right thing. There are only going to be probably a handful of these types of department stores left in the next 5-10 years. I think Macy's is going to be one of them.
The president of the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce says the news of the pending closure of the local Macy's store took her by surprise.
I know personally that this store was successful. So for them to close the one in Helena, Montana, I think is a really poor judgment because this area really can support a store like that.
Macy's announcement comes on the heels of Shopko closing in 2019, the loss of Kmart in 2018, and JCPenney store in 2017. Burwell says Helena is growing, and the closure of these stores is likely more part of a national trend and not related to the local economy. The company told employees at their Helena store on Monday the location will close in 8 to 12 weeks. The closure of the store will impact about 50 employees. Resources are available to help employees who will be out of work. Helena Job Service Manager Carol Rule says they can help employees find work.
I feel that many employers, when there's an announcement like this, will reach out to us and they let us know that they would be interested in hiring those affected workers.
The Helena Job Service Center currently has about 1,000 job listings. Now, the job center is located on Front Street and is open weekdays until 5 p.m.
Another one bites the dust. The Macy's located in the Rivergate Mall in Goodlettsville is closing.
News Channel 5's Sina Saleem explains what could be next for a struggling area surrounded by communities on the rise.
In an era where you can buy anything with the click of your finger, shopping malls are taking a hit.
Malls in general in the United States are trending in different ways. Online sales have impacted that greatly. And I think the makeup and the model of what malls are will change as time goes on.
The latest store shutting its doors at Rivergate Mall is Macy's.
I was a little surprised. I know that Macy's as a whole corporately have had some struggles in the last couple of years. Financially, they've had to make some tough decisions. And unfortunately, the one here in Goodlettsville at Rivergate Mall was one that they chose to shut down.
Rivergate representatives tell us Macy's owns their respective building and parking lot, and they have reached out to Macy's corporate to explore future plans of the property, but haven't gotten any answers. City Manager Tim Ellis says he's choosing to look at the positives.
This only gives us further opportunity for redevelopment, opportunity to bring in things that are bigger and brighter than maybe what was there currently or in the past.
And while the mall may be turning the page on the past, the next chapter has yet to be written. In Goodlettsville, Sina Saleem, News Channel 5.
Thank you, Sina. The city manager says Macy's will likely be closed by March. A clearance sale will run for about 8 to 12 weeks.
Final clearance sales will start soon at another anchor store at Hanes Mall. Macy's is closing. No exact date on when that store will shut down. This is the second anchor store to leave Hanes Mall. Last year, Sears closed its location at the shopping center.
Times for retailers. Macy's will close more than 24 stores, including 3 in the tri-state area. The company will shutter 28 stores in the coming months. Among them, 2 locations on Long Island, the Macy's in Hicksville and Comac. A store outside New Haven, Connecticut will also close. Macy's announced sales in November and December fell about 0.5%, which actually eased some investors' fears about the holiday shopping period.
And the announcement that Macy's will be closing its Northgate Mall location has us all talking about where retail is. Joining me now for a discussion on that is WCPO's Dan Monk. Dan, you have worked a lot on this topic, and I want to use this recent piece of news to segue into a broader conversation. First and foremost, though, what does it say about Macy's health in brick and mortar?
Well, Macy's is seeing declining sales in malls that are not making big investments. That's what they said in the third quarter call. They've hinted that they're going to close some stores, and now we're seeing the results of that. We think that Macy's is closing 20 stores in 2019. There are some experts who think they're still going to have to close hundreds of stores before this is all over.
Hundreds?
Yes.
Okay.
They have 700 stores nationwide. Some think they might have to close as many as 500 of them.
That is not insignificant at all.
No.
That illustrates the changing face of retail.
Right.
So why is this happening?
Well, a lot is shifting to online, but really the trend started before the online growth of companies like Amazon and Walmart when they established their online presence. A lot of stores shifted out of the malls and into big box centers. This started like 40 years ago. So you've seen the growth of discount retailers, you've seen the growth of specialty retail. The department store used to be the place where all of these products were sold, on multiple floors. Now we're seeing retailers kind of siphon off bits and pieces of that department store business, and that's why you're seeing closures at places like Macy's, at Kmart, at Sears, and other big box retailers.
I'm assuming that there will always be people who want to try something on, see something before they buy it.
Right.
So in a Darwinian retail world, who survives?
Well, it's going to be the retailers that innovate, and one thing you should look for is companies like Apple, which has a lot of sales per square foot. Lululemon is another example. Some of the luxury retailers are doing a good job of really generating a lot of retail growth in a smaller footprint. And for companies like Macy's, they're going to have to get rid of some of their store inventory, but they're doing things like establishing a discount concept called Backstage, which they've put in the Tri-County store. That's one thing that might save them long term. It'll keep their real estate at good use. They can sell products digitally, have people pick them up in the stores, and that'll help preserve their retail space. It'll be a gradual transition, but ultimately they're going to have less space.
Yeah, a gradual transition that we're all seeing and feeling.
Yeah.
Dan Monk, thank you for joining us. And if you would like to read more on this topic by Dan, all you have to do is go to WCPO.com.